the last piece I'll mention about how our thoughts can trap us is what most of us experience every day when we hit something that's really challenging. Could be illness or conflict with loved ones or struggle of our child or some sort of loss, or might be addictive behavior, and how often we try to think our way out of it. How often we try to figure out an answer. And so I think Einstein maybe put a frame around this that's most useful, which is that no problem can be solved from the same level of consciousness that created it. No problem can be solved from the same level of consciousness that created it. If we want to transform, if we want to change our patterns, it means stepping out of our habitual thoughts. It means really asking ourselves, well, what do I regularly think about? And you might ask yourself that right now. Like, what do you regularly think about? What are the most common thoughts? What are the stories that you're running through your mind? Where is your attention? Because if you start noticing where you're paying attention, you'll start seeing the patterning, the looping of thoughts create certain feelings, that create certain behaviors, that then create certain life patterns that we can stay stuck in for decades and decades. There's a story about the magician Houdini that I really like, shared before, that he traveled through Europe and he would visit small towns and challenge the local jailer to bind him in a straitjacket and lock him in a cell. And he didn't have any trouble at all with this until he reached this small Irish town where in front of a crowd of people in the village, and news reporters, they, did the same thing, put him in a straitjacket, locked him up, and he easily broke free of the straitjacket, but he couldn't unlock the cell door. So he's trying every little trick he knew to unlock the lock. And everybody finally left because it was taking a really long time. And then he admitted defeat and he asked the jailer what newfangled kind of lock he had put on that door. And the jailer confessed his trick. He had never locked the cell door. Houdini had only succeeded in locking himself in. So to me, this is a really powerful story of how we create our own suffering. That we keep thinking ourselves into our own prison. We keep telling ourselves the same stories about what's wrong with me, or what's wrong with you, or what's wrong with life, what we should be doing different. And these repeating stories keep us bound in what's described as the separate egoic self. We keep reincarnating a limited, deficient self that's having a hard time through our thinking. So if we come back to evolution, we're meant to think. We're actually designed to get addicted to our thoughts in some way, to hold on real tight to our strategy. And being adaptive creatures, we're designed to see what the limits are. And then we have this capacity with mindfulness to recognize, oh, stuck inside this prison, stop doing this, just open the door, step out. Mindfulness. Get a little quieter. Notice what's happening. So the rest of this class is going to be really how we step out of the kind of entrapment of thinking. And I'd like to share with you a reading from D.H. Lawrence. This is from Lady Chatterley's Lover, that I think says it beautifully. We've little needs and deeper needs. We've fallen into the mistake of living from our little needs till we have almost lost our deeper needs in a sort of madness. Let us prepare now for the death of our present little life and the reemergence in a bigger life in touch with the moving cosmos. It is a question practically of relationship. We must get back into relation, vivid and nourishing relation to the cosmos and the universe. The way is through daily ritual. We must once more practice the ritual of dawn and noon and sunset, the ritual of kindling fire and pouring water, the ritual of the first breath and the last. To these rituals we must return, or we must evolve them to suit our needs. For the truth is, we are perishing for lack of fulfillment of our greater needs. We are cut off from the great sources of our inward nourishment and renewal, sources which flow eternally in the universe. Vitally, the human race is dying. It is like a great uprooted tree with its roots in the air. We must plant ourselves again in the universe. Vitally, the human race is dying. It is like a great uprooted tree with its roots in the air. We must plant ourselves again in the universe. So the title of this talk, by the way, is Planting Ourselves in the Universe. And that image, for me, of this uprooted tree, that we've kind of lost our connection with the earth and with our bodies, and we're kind of, our roots are up there kind of in cyberspace somewhere, in the world of thinking, is so apt. We need to replant ourselves, come back to our senses. So this movement from thoughts to a larger reality, and just to know that evolution doesn't dispense with lower functions. As we keep evolving from more primitive functions, we still have access to them, but we have access to something greater. Einstein described flashes of mystical insight as he was going through his life. And then he said he would have that flash and there would be some revelation, and then he'd spend the next decade articulating it, using that brilliant mind of his to put words and concepts around it so he could deliver it. So we get this, all the most breakthrough theories of physics, they came from mystical insights and a brilliant mind that could think. It's not dispensing with thought. So the two aspects to our training that really help evolve us so that we can rest in something larger than conceptual mind, the first piece is coming back. Coming back meaning that we notice thinking, lost in thought, and reconnect with the present moment. And so we begin that, and as many of you that have been sitting, doing these guided meditations find is helpful, is we have some anchor, some home base that's sensory. It could be the breath, it could be sounds, it could be using our whole body sensation, so that we know when we've left. We need to kind of get the knack of realizing, I'm off again. And then we have a place to settle again. So we notice leaving, but how we return. This I'm getting into the practicalities of meditation. How we return. How we notice we've been off in thought and come back to planting ourselves in the universe. The attitude is what really makes the difference. If we notice that we've gone off in thought and we feel a sense of failure and a sense of discouragement, and I'm just one of the people that's just not cut out for this stuff, my mind, that kind of thing, that energy is going to be what seeds the next moment. We're just going to end up having more aversion and more aversive kind of thinking. If instead, the best metaphor is probably training a dog, there's a sense of firm, yes, I'm going to come back, but friendly, kind. It's like there's a saying that the mind has no shame, it goes everywhere and anywhere. Well, it's like the dog might pee in the corner. We're not going to punish it. It's just like, come back. This is how we do it. The mind has no shame. It really doesn't. It does everything. Come back, come back, come back. So even if you leave 1,000 times, you're actually building new neural pathways by recognizing and saying, come back. Kaveri Patel, in a poem that I find really useful, says, "There's a monkey in my mind, swinging on a trapeze, reaching back to the past or leaning into the future, never standing still. Sometimes I want to kill that monkey, shoot it square between the eyes so I won't have to think anymore or feel the pain or worry. But today I thanked her. Today I thanked her. And she jumped down straight into my lap, trapeze still swinging, as we sat still." It's our attitude towards thinking. If we're trying to vanquish thoughts, we'll be spending the rest of our life at war with thoughts. Just they're part of our design, like the body secretes enzymes, the mind secretes thoughts. So we're not at war with them. It's just, can we recognize them so we're not lost in the storyline? So that's part one, coming back. Just noticing, coming back. Part two is being here. So we're actually planting ourselves in the universe of this body and of this moment. Okay?